What did you call me?
Alright, I need to check something here. Real quick, like, before we start. I should be able to bang out this episode pretty quick, at least.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Talk about that.
We had some weird stuff happen this week in the world of video game news, huh?
Yeah. Just some... I don't know. Pre-Black Friday is weird.
Yeah.
Pre-Black Friday, post-Halloween. It's just a real weird time.
Yeah.
Alright, let me bring up chat here. Bring up that chat.
Yeah, I should do the same. Make sure Plex is closed this week.
Oh, yeah.
It was last week. I think I tried to close and it, failed.
Yeeps.
Yes.
Also put the TVGP logo below me in this.
I see that. That's
stream.
very fancy.
I figured there's nothing there. Might as well put something there.
There's a whole lot of me on this stream right now.
Yeah. Here, let me squish you down a little bit there. There we go. A little less you.
And that's okay. I'm all right with that. There's a whole lot of me on the Game Club cast too, so
That's true. It balances out.
yeah.
All right, let me know whenever you have chat up, and we'll just get started and kind of bang this thing out.
Sounds good to me. All right, let me so chat
What's his
and
name?
cross that off.
Boy, it's warm in here.
I wish I could say that.
It's in the 80s today.
It's 11 degrees here.
Oh, man. It's been getting super cold here overnight, like sub 30s. It's a fun swing.
Yeah, that's too much. I don't think my immune system can actually handle that.
Yeah, our sinuses are not having a good time with it.
Every time there's like a 30-degree temperature swing around here, my face just melts.
Yeah.
Like just out of my nose, just like oh,
just leaking brains.
Well, the fun part was, so we got like maybe 3 to 4, maybe 5 inches of snow last night. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
But it was doing that thing where it, you've lived in Ohio. It kind of it's coming down and it's hitting, it's melting as it's hitting, but it's not melting completely.
Oh, yeah.
And then the temperature dropped as it got later.
Oh,
and
boy.
so by the time our associations, so we live in a condo here, by the time the plow company that does our association, like driveway, like the back drive where all the garages are, and you can get out, by the time they got here, it was midnight, and I was trying to sleep, and they were
just
scraping
breaking up ice flows.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
remember that.
I was just kind of like, literally my head hit the pillow and it was like,
yeah. When I lived in my apartment in Ohio, that would normally happen at 4 in the morning, and I'd be getting up at 6. So like 4 in the morning, I was like, what? And it just outside, like literally outside my window, because I lived on the first floor. They paved this giant parking lot right behind it, and it was like 6 feet out of my window, just like, yep, cool. All right, I'm up now.
yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
It's like one of those like, oh, it's first world problem, but it's kind of like, oh, I was just about to go to sleep.
Yeah, I was also like, hey, I need some sleep.
I spent my whole day decorating for Christmas, climbing up and down a tiny little stepladder a million times.
Jeez.
And my allergies have been going crazy. I think, I used to get like the allergy injections back in the day. I think those are starting to wear off.
Oh, no.
And all of my allergies are coming back, like dogs, cats.
Oh,
and
boy.
having a dog, that's not great.
No, yeah.
So the only allergy medicine we had, I was like, okay, this is gonna kill me. Like I'm gonna be half dead for most of the day, but I need to be able to breathe.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I was useless for like a good 3 hours there.
And just sitting there drooling on yourself.
Oh no, putting the tree together and drooling.
Oh, yeah.
But fun.
Christmas.
It's a great picture of me and Cooper behind the tree, like fluffing it up. He's like just looking up, like I'm helping. I'm like, dude, you need to move.
Yeah, you got to get out of here. I'm gonna step on you in 2 minutes.
Yep. Okay. Ooh, that's a lot of stuff. Why is there so much stuff? Oh, because I bought something on Steam. That's why.
Oh.
You get like 5 email alerts and like a PayPal alert.
Thanks for buying stuff.
Thanks
You have
for
new
buying
cards.
stuff. Here's your stuff.
Yeah.
It's worse when you buy stuff on Amazon because it's like, hey, guess what? It's getting delivered. Hey, by the way, it's after shipping. Hey, by the way, you got like 12 free things for buying a thing on Amazon that you're never going
Yeah.
to use.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Oh man. All right, you ready to do this thing?
Yes.
All right. Excuse me.
Him.
Him. All right, let's get started in three, two, one. Welcome back to another episode of That Video Game Podcast. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me this week is the Hannah.
Hey.
Knobs is otherwise indisposed by work, so
Yep.
he sent me a very short text. Sounds like it's going poorly, so
I imagine.
best wishes to him. A bit of programming news here before we start. I totally forgot it was this show's anniversary like a month
Oh.
ago. So it's been
Happy.
8 years of TVGP.
That's
Never
a
miss an
lot of
episode.
TVGP. I've
So
only been here for 2.5, almost 3 now.
something like that, yeah.
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 Yeah. It's been
The
fun.
better part of TVGP's lifespan.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So
I'll
happy
be.
birthday to us, and what better way to celebrate it than talking about Hannah? What have you been playing?
Stuff.
Stuff and things.
Stuff and things. I've been playing, the same stuff. I played a little bit of Hand of Fate this week just to catch up on that as our, looming top 10 list comes around. It's my debate game. I'm not sure if it's gonna make it.
Yeah, I was having that conversation with myself, saying like, this game is really great. There's a lot of other really great games though. It's if it doesn't make it, it's
Yeah.
obviously going in honorable mentions. But
Yes.
like if it goes in, is it 10? Is it 7? Like where
Yeah.
does it fall?
Where does it
'Cause
sit?
it's a really great game that is kind of hard to explain and is a little bit janky,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not in a bad way, but just
No, not at all.
not flawless.
It's definitely a fun game. There's no question there. But you have to take in some of the technical deficiencies with it into account, and you have to take into account the fact that it could be so much more with not a whole ton of effort.
Right. And then
You know?
like you have to balance, it's I think people don't realize how hard it is making a top 10 list because you have to balance
Oh,
like, all right, this game is really good for a small team, but it's going up against games like MGS5 and Fallout
Fallout
4,
4.
like these
Yeah.
very different games, but they're so huge and so well done that
Well,
how do you compare a game made by probably 5 people and is really well done for that compared to something like MGS5, which is a fairly solid experience throughout it and made by a
Yeah.
ton of people.
oh yeah.
But they're not really comparative games.
No, not at all.
No.
But then you put Hand of Fate up against something like my next game, Rocket League,
Yeah.
and you're like, man, that's kind of a small team too.
Yeah.
And man, that's a real good game because
That's a real great game.
I can't stop playing it.
Yeah.
It's been like, I mean, what has it been, like 2-3 months since that came out, and it's been like an abiding Wednesday night game night for that long.
I think it's as soon as it launched, everyone was like, well, that's our Wednesday game.
Yeah, no, that was my full intention with that, and I can't believe it panned out. Things don't work out like that for me.
No.
Generally, it's
happy
like
accident.
we're going to do a thing, and it's like, no, we're not going to do that.
Nah,
thing.
we're good.
Why would we do that thing? That's the worst thing.
We're going to do anything else.
Yeah. But yeah, we played a bunch more Rocket League this Wednesday. Had Binary Viking out, Death 2K, Troy Nabed, and AM, and I think WTF It's Chaz showed up at one
Nice.
point. So we played a little bit. We played some mutators, of course, because
Well,
why
yeah.
would you? We went online for a little bit and we did some 3v3 at first, and that went pretty well.
Mm.
And didn't win every single game. Did a lot of mutator matchup.
Oh, yeah.
So you have in that rotation, you have beach ball where you've got, I think it's standard gravity, but it's a giant ball that's super bouncy and
Oh.
super hard to get into the goal.
That's cool.
Yeah, you have pinball where the ball's super bouncy and super tiny, and gravity's I think the same or like a little lower or something. Either way, if you get that thing going towards the goal, it's probably going to go in, and it sort of makes being a goalie useless. So
Oh.
it turns into this sort of crazy, purely offensive game, and I've seen games get like double digits in scoring.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it gets pretty insane. I'm trying to think of some of the other variants that were in there. There's Time Warp, which not a lot of people like, but I really enjoy. It's the one where your proximity to the ball triggers a sort of slowdown effect.
Right.
So a lot of people get really frustrated with that. I kind of like it because when you have multiple people heading towards the ball, it gives you this sort of like epic moment of like, oh man, who's going to hit it? Am
You
I
have
going
like
to
this
be?
inhale where you're like,
You have this moment where it's going to be, oh, I can hit it. You can actually see your opportunities. It's kind of like, did you ever see the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies?
oh yeah, I love those movies.
It's kind of like that where it's like, okay, well, if I hit it here, it's going to go
Right.
up and it's going to bounce off and
You're
it's going
doing
to
all
bounce
the
off
math in
that
your
far
head, like,
and
oh,
it's
if I the trajectories.
yeah. But if I do it left, it's just going to bounce off the wall and center it, and someone from my team could potentially pick it up.
Right.
It's
It's such a
it's
cool idea that you very rarely see any sort of slowdown in any multiplayer games because clearly it's a frustrating idea. But
yes,
the only other opportunity for a lot of that is like John Woo's Stranglehold. They tried to do some of that in multiplayer, but
yeah,
that's like a first third person shooter. Like that's not
hmm
really where you want it. Something like Rocket League at least affords you a different opportunity to play around with that stuff because
absolutely,
you don't really have those expectations of no one's going like, oh god, here we go, another one of these derivative car combat games.
yeah,
It's like, it's sort of like that's one of Rocket League's strengths is like, cool, this is something different. This is
yeah,
great.
absolutely. Another thing we did some custom mutators, courtesy of Binary Viking. He came in and just sort of started setting stuff up. We were doing things like, 10 times boost speed, so you're going 10 times faster with
Jeez.
boost. That is insane enough, but then we were doing things like making the ball as large as possible, turning the gravity all the way up,
Oh wow.
and making the ball, I think, like not bouncy at all. We called it Giant Boulder of Death.
Nice. It's
And
appropriate.
I think we maybe got one goal in. It's not fun. I don't think fun is the right word for that, but it was definitely interesting.
It's an experience.
Yeah.
You know what I
It,
really like about those mutators is it reminds me a lot of. I think I mentioned this last week. Reminds me a lot of Worms, the older
mhm.
Worms games, where you could go in and say, "All right, everybody has one piece of health, but gravity is crazy, and we only
Yeah.
have a handgun and a lasso, and then a
Yeah.
bunch of ropes,
Yeah.
and the screen wraps around too. So
Yeah.
let's go try this." And it's like, well, that sucked. All right, let's try something different, and you set six other options and take away three other guns and see how that turns out.
There was in the early days of Xbox Live Arcade, there was a lot of games that had that sort of like crazy settings theme to it. Yet,
Yeah,
Bomberman Live was another one.
right.
That was something me and Binary Viking played a ton of way back when.
That was a great version of that
That
game.
was a fantastic version of that game, and I am terrible at it.
Yeah,
I am not good at Bomberman, and I am much less good at that version.
yeah.
Especially because if you turn on all the options in that game, you can get a bomb that just clears the screen. It just goes
Uh,
through everything. It's oh man, it's brutal.
that's awesome.
That was Wednesday night as usual. I did play a little bit of the original Lumines and Gunpei on PSP. I just need some games to relax with.
Yeah,
Something low key and kind of I can turn my brain off and play this while I watch, How I Met Your Mother or whatever show we're watching at the time.
yeah,
So those are great for that. Gunpei less so because you have to pay a little closer attention because you're like, oh, I got to get these tiles down from the bottom or from the top of the screen before they screw me over. And the original Lumines is just that's a game I have not been able to stop playing for almost a decade. So
yeah.
I don't see any reason to stop.
That's a good value.
It's I think so.
Yeah.
Uh, I also played a little bit right before this cast of a game called Hacknet. And so I'm not 100% sure. Well, I can tell you what the game is. I'm not sure what like the story or anything is yet. But basically, you load up the game and you're basically sitting at a computer terminal. Like when you're playing a game.
Right.
But it actually opens up like a file system and like an actual like command prompt, and you're just throwing commands at computers, reading files, and downloading hacking tools, and basically pretending I'm 14 again.
Right.
Yeah, knocking people off of aim, and but no, but seriously, the idea of the game is you're trying to help out this now deceased hacker who has contacted you and is like, "Hey, I need you to do some stuff for me. I'm going to send you instructions through email. Uh, here's a tutorial. Here's what you have to do." And then I'm crawling through somebody he knew, a hacker that went by the name of Viper, and of course he called out, "Yeah, I know that's really dumb," but he always seems to get his hands on really good code.
Huh.
So let's go pillage his workstation and grab his tools and see what we can do with them.
That's really interesting.
Well, and the cool thing is you can go through like their config files. So like you'll go into like it's set up it's all set up like their Linux directories. So you
Mm.
drop into like your tilde directory, your standard like not the home directory, but the one right above that.
Yeah, your root.
Yeah, your root directory, and then you have your general setup. You've got bin, you've got sys, you've got home, and you've got a couple other folders depending on the system. But of course, you're going to find executables in the bin folder, the binary folder,
Mm.
and you're going to find there's a logs folder too. You have to
Ah,
make sure you go in there
that's the
and
good
erase your
stuff.
tracks. Yeah, you
Yeah.
actually have to, and you're throwing actual commands at it. You're doing things like scping files down. You're doing like scp, ssh hack.exe,
Wow.
and you're going to pull that down. You're also erasing your log files so that no one knows you were there,
Right.
because that's how computers work.
Right.
So there's that. It's really interesting so far. It seems like a game I could probably get away with playing at work
Yeah.
because it looks like what I do at work.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking that too. I was like, man, the sysadmin part of my job would look very similar to that.
Yes, it's a pretty interesting looking interface. The text is kind of small. There's no color coding on the terminal window, which is kind of a bummer for me because I set everything up so that it's like color coded and you
Oh,
can
yeah.
really quickly tell directories from files and executables from flat files and all that stuff. There's tab completion, which is
Yes. Thank
fantastic.
goodness.
And like I think I probably would have quit the game if you couldn't tab complete.
Yeah, I'm so reliant on that nowadays.
So for those who are not in IT and have real jobs that do real things,
Yeah.
tab completion is when you're in sort of like a command prompt environment and you start typing like a file name or a command and you hit the tab key on your keyboard and it like fills it out for you.
Yeah, finishes the file name
Yeah,
or
so you
directory
can.
or whatever.
Yeah, so if you're changing directories to like, this is Boston's super awesome directory, you can just type like cd space this and hit tab and it will finish it out for you,
Yeah.
which
Also,
is,
how did you know about my super awesome directory?
well, that's what Hacknet is, man.
That's
Like
true.
I'm in the code. So yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to playing a little bit more of. It seems like it's probably not going to be that long. It's going to be probably something pretty short. It's only $10 on Steam. I
I
had
don't
like,
know. I don't know how long you would want a game like that to be.
no,
You
no,
don't want to be typing commands for 30 hours. Like.
maybe you wouldn't.
No. Well, I
To be
mean that's
fair,
like that's my
that's like a
job.
Tuesday/Wednesday for
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
So yeah, that's what I've been playing besides Fallout 4.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
been playing a lot of Fallout 4.
I haven't been playing a lot, but I've been playing some quality Fallout 4. I finally found the good parts. And you know
Yeah.
what the good parts are?
Hmm.
South. Diamond
Yes.
City.
There's a lot of good stuff. I've been having a lot of fun with that game when I'm not doing the main story mission. And I know a lot of people are probably like, "No kidding, weird."
A
But
Bethesda game? What?
yeah, but there's the main story stuff. I feel like there's really no disconnect because it's basically going up to somebody and being like, "My son," and they're like, "I don't know." And like,
Who?
"Oh, you need to go talk to this person," and then you go up
Yeah.
to that person and say, "My son." So and not, but I've done the Silver Shroud quest, which
Haven't done that one.
it's in. Have you been to? Oh God, Good People is the name of the town.
No.
Okay, it's a mission you get there. You should do it as soon as you can. It gets
Okay.
you a surprisingly powerful set of armor
Oh,
that
okay.
doesn't look like it would be powerful and can be upgraded if you save an NPC through that mission.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Uh,
that was one of that mission. I'm not going to spoil it for a lot of people because I went into it totally blind and had a really great time.
yeah.
It's one of those Fallout missions that you're gonna remember because
Yeah.
it either has good storytelling or it's super dumb. And this one kind of is on the super dumb end of the spectrum where you're like, man, I'm having a lot of fun, but this is super stupid.
Speaking of excellent quests, have you gone to the Cambridge Polymer Labs yet?
I don't think so.
Okay. That is it in Cambridge, obviously.
Yeah.
That is a heck of a mission.
I'll have to go
That
do
is
that.
that is the quest that got me back into this game in a big way.
Yeah.
So I had quit the game, a few days ago, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna put it down. I'm gonna, play when I can.
Yeah.
I picked it back up. I did this quest. Holy crap. Just one of those like classic, like, oh man, something went really bad here
Yeah.
in the worst kind of way, and like they didn't quite finish it.
Right.
And then there's a nice little twist at the end that they always kind of do with these missions.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, oh, but that was, I
Mm,
like that.
yeah. That was great, but also a bummer.
Yeah. So if you're anywhere in the Cambridge area in Fallout, go check out Cambridge Polymer Labs. It's a really cool, nice little. It's self-contained. I think
Right.
that's really when these Bethesda's games are at their best, when they're doing these nice little self-contained just stories.
Yeah, like less than an hour, a single dungeon.
Hmm.
You get the whole thing in one go. That's a really good point. I think that's when that's when they hit their strongest suit. When they try to tell a longer story, that's when it
Things
sort
get
of starts
overplayed.
to fall apart a little bit.
But that got me back into the game enough to go, okay, I'm going to make it to Diamond City.
Yeah.
And so I'm starting to meet some of the main players in the story.
Right.
And I finally met Nick Valentine.
He's so cool.
He's so
He's
cool.
my best friend. I
He
have him
is
I
awesome.
have him the entire time. I
Yeah,
have nobody else.
nice.
Cuz he is actually a great shot. Like both he and
He
I can
is.
hold down the fort. He'll kill dudes by himself and he just does his job.
Yeah, he's good to have around if you're not necessarily going to be specking into like hacking or lockpicking.
Yeah, cuz he's really good at hacking.
Yeah.
Um
Well, he's not perfect at it. He can't
yeah.
hack a master terminal, but
Yeah, if you don't have any points in hacking or for some reason hate the hacking minigame, then he's a pretty
yeah.
good companion to have on you.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. I did that little part of the main story where you meet him and you do all that
You
stuff,
meet
and then
Piper and the mayor and all that.
you meet Piper, you meet the mayor,
Yeah.
and then the first part of the sort of main storyline where he goes along with you to, like when you finally, I don't know, it's hard to do it without spoiling.
Well, it's the Kellogg storyline, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
That's the one I just finished yesterday,
Did
and that
you
was really interesting.
Okay, if you haven't been a good people or good neighbor, I don't remember what it's called. That there is
I think it's Good Neighbor.
good neighbor, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a part of the Kellogg storyline that is in Good Neighbor that is really really interesting. And
Yeah.
it's one of those times where Fallout does something different with itself that I think is really I don't know if it 100% pays off, but it's really interesting.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, I'd be
yeah.
interested to see that. I did go at one point. I decided to go north and west on the map because I'm a fool.
Okay.
But I came across something really interesting. It was just a Mr. Handy style robot
Mhm.
called Dr. Goodfeels, just sort of roaming around,
It's a
spouting
great
like
name.
hippie stuff.
Okay.
And then you can hack a terminal nearby and change his mode to like repair mode. And apparently he goes off to like the place where he was manufactured and you can go find him.
Huh.
And I haven't done that yet, but I'm really excited to start that quest
Yeah, I haven't run into that at all.
because I love the idea of a hippie robot
Yeah.
named Dr.
Hopefully you can
Goodfeels.
get him as a companion.
Right?
I have a ton of companions. Let me tell you,
Yeah?
Sanctuary is full of just a motley crew of peeps.
Sanctuary is full of a lot of junk I'm using to build a lot of not so great weapons.
Yeah, I have finally figured out um, how to make adhesive.
Yeah, the vegetable paste thing.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm starting to farm a lot of that stuff and build up a farm there.
that's my next thing.
Which assigning people to do crops is such a pain. Oh
Ev-
man.
Everything about that is a pain. Everything where it's
Yeah.
like Fallout Shelter, because clearly that's where they got the idea,
Yeah.
is a bummer.
Yeah. I There's so much to like about Fallout 4 when it clicks that
Yeah.
I've played a lot of it this week,
Mm.
sort of in fits and spurts, because it works really well with the PS4's rest mode,
Oh, nice.
which is great because you just pause it, put it in a rest mode, you come back and it's already
And
you're back in it.
It's also kind of a miracle considering Bethesda's history with Sony consoles.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm still running into performance issues. I've had a lot more fun
Yeah,
this week because I'm not running into any game-breaking bugs like I was before. I
yeah,
haven't. It's been, this whole week I haven't run into anybody that has just stopped talking to me because they've disappeared.
yeah.
Stuff like that. I haven't run into very much of that. Um, but it just when Fallout gets good, Fallout 4 does the same thing where you can just head in a direction and just find stuff, and you'll
Hmm.
find here's a downed airplane that's full of a bunch of stuff. You know,
And you can get the flight log. I got that.
oh, I didn't get that.
Yeah, it's up in
I
the cockpit. You got to go get that.
I was too distracted by a locked secret compartment. I was just like, "What's in it?"
What was in it?
I don't know. It's like an expert lock, so I can't get in there yet.
Oh, I bet I opened it. It's probably nothing important.
Yeah, I need to start now that I'm leveling I'm level 23. I just
Oh
hit
wow,
23.
I think I'm like 13.
Man, you burn through levels. Apparently there's no level cap, so they're
Yeah,
just dumping experience at you.
which is fantastic. I kind of like that. Like
Yeah, I want
in
to max
previous
out
games.
the special thing.
Yeah,
And like there shouldn't the only restriction for that should be time.
yeah.
Um so I need to start putting a list together of like where all of the expert lock things are so I can go back to them
Mhm.
once I level up because there has to be something good in those.
That would be a nice mod to have, just a tagging system for that map.
Yeah. Well, the good part is there are so many websites out right now to help you with that stuff in Fallout 4. Like there's the fallouttracker.com.
Yeah.
If anybody listening is playing Fallout 4, go there and sign up for an account. You track which bobbleheads you've picked up, which
Hmm.
rare weapons and armor, and then which rare magazines you've picked up.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so it's really nice just to say like, because there's like 120 magazines or something.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a ton, and I'm more interested in getting the bobbleheads first, and I have like 6 of them. Um,
nice. I think I got like three.
and I've just found them as I've been out. But it's kind of nice to know, all right, I have these ones, and I can see the location for all of these other ones. I've never been to any of these locations, so I don't even know. Like I don't even know where that is, so I'll get that later.
Yeah.
Dimebag in chat asked, "What was it again?" Fallouttracker.com. And apparently, if you're not great at the hacking mini game because it is a little bit weird, even though I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Apparently there's a website out there you can put in all the words on the screen and it'll recommend you how likely each word is to be the solution.
Yeah.
So a lot of good stuff out there.
Hmm.
But yeah, I just after last week I was so frustrated with it, and I was so disappointed at how much it was kind of Fallout 3 Part 2. But with the stuff I've run into so far, I feel like I'm getting the better part of Fallout 3 Part 2. Because that's still really what it is. It's not this revolutionary Fallout game. But what I'm running into is now really good. Once you kind of
Yeah.
get over that initial very high hump and you get into the game kind of takes the training wheels off you and you finally get enough levels and you get enough damage and you're modding your guns and like you feel strong enough that you can just kind of walk in a direction.
Yeah.
That's when Fallout gets really good.
That's the interesting thing to me because right now I don't think I could do that.
Mm.
Because as I said, there was a mission where I was following another character, and that said character led me right past two death claws were fighting, and then the winner turned on me.
Nice.
Yeah, that was not fun because I
No.
was not in power armor at the time, so it was kind of like, guys, we need to help.
I gotta go. I have recently
Yeah,
fought a lot of Deathclaws, and I don't use the power armor at all.
really.
That has been very interesting.
Yeah, I bet because they can just kind of grab you and kill you.
Well, and the thing that is really frustrating is if you're just aiming down sights,
Hmm.
they dodge a lot. So
Yes.
like you can get a really good shot lined up, and they will just scooch to the left or the right, and then
Yeah.
you totally whiff.
Yeah, and it's a bummer. I
Yeah.
tend to use VATS in those situations and go for the torso because I know I'm going to at least hit.
Yeah. I use VATS a lot.
I'm starting to get used to VATS not being a full stop. It's
Yeah.
forced me to react a lot faster than I normally would because normally VATS was just my pause button.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, all right, how can I do this? How can I make this happen?
Yeah.
But
I've run in
now,
I've
you
run
know,
into a couple encounters lately where I like that VATS isn't a full stop because I'll be tracking somebody out from behind cover and you can
yeah,
see them running. So you just have to give them a minute to like pop their head out and then hit the trigger a bunch of times with VATS, and as they're running out from undercover, just bap bap bap, just knock them
yeah,
down.
yeah. It's really nice. It is really nice for enemies that are trying to exit cover or enter cover.
Yeah.
You can catch them right before they duck down.
Have you
Uh,
fought any super mutant suiciders?
yes, they're a bummer.
Man, if you can catch them, I now have owl ears for that beeping noise.
Oh yeah,
If you can catch that beeping noise and you can get them pretty early on, you can wipe out an entire colony of super mutants all in one shot, and it's
because they're
amazing.
yeah, because they're basically just nuclear suicide bombers.
Yeah, you just shoot the arm that has the bomb in it, and it
Yeah,
blows up the bomb and blows up everything around it.
yeah.
It's amazing.
It's a pretty cool effect too.
Yeah.
It's just this like little mushroom cloud that goes up.
There have been so many instances where I'm like walking around and then I can hear some shooting off in the distance, and I look over and just this mushroom cloud in the distance. I was like, what is happening over there?
And that's the thing. That's when the Bethesda games always get me. It's like, oh man, this world is alive. There's stuff happening in this world without my interference.
Yeah, like I before this recording, I ran into super mutants that were fighting raiders that were
Mhm.
fighting children of the atom, which
Ooh,
you haven't run into yet, probably.
are
Um,
they anything like the people worshiping in Megaton?
Similar, yes.
Okay, all right.
You'll run into them later in the glowing sea quest.
Are they headed up by a certain magnetic mutant?
I don't know. There was a
Because that
mission.
would be great.
Yeah, there was a mission. Probably one of the better story missions, called the Glowing Sea.
Okay.
And you run into them as part of that. Um, and it's crazy. It's crazy in the way that you kind of want Fallout to be, where it's like, what
Nice.
are you people doing? What
Yeah.
has made you like this?
I have found my suspension of disbelief faltering a little bit here and there, just because I'm like, okay, why would there be typewriters everywhere? It was
Right.
2077.
Right. Hadn't somebody looted this for something at this point?
Not even that, just like it was 2077 when the bombs dropped. Why were you people using typewriters?
Yeah, that's kind of always been the thing that Fallout has had trouble reconciling is it loves the 50s,
Yeah.
but it also loves the future. So
Yeah.
it's like this retrofuturism that's going on, but
Which I can dig, but there's certain parts of it where I'm like, man, I don't just call it something different.
right. Yeah, like space typewriter,
Yeah.
laser
Space
typewriter.
laser,
Yeah,
yeah.
it etches the letters into the paper. Boom.
Yeah.
Hire me, Bethesda.
Yep. I don't know. It's and that's not even like I don't even count that as like a fault against Bethesda or anybody. It's always just been that's a Fallout thing.
Yeah.
That's always just been sort of like, you're trying to get these two worlds. It's like people who are like, oh yeah, humans and dinosaurs live side by side. It's like there's such a big gap between those two
yeah.
things.
Yeah, there's
Like,
not.
no, man, no,
Well,
they
and
didn't.
and
But
I
that would be
think
great.
I think I think the problem is Fallout 4 in this, and I put problem in quotes, truthfully,
Yeah.
because you care about junk this time. If you're
Yeah.
playing Fallout 3, you'd look in this room and go, no, no ammo or bottle caps here. See you later.
Yeah.
But in this game, you look at a typewriter and go, all right, that's probably gonna have a gear and some screws and some springs. All right, I'll take that. Or you
I'm gonna
highlight
take
over it,
all of those.
and it has the little magnifying icon because you're looking out for something. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
well, I have to take that. It makes
Yeah.
you care about just the crap in the environment, which you never really had to before.
Yeah, it's there's this there's a term for it. It's like ludonarrative disconnect or something
A
like
little
that.
narrative dissonance. Yeah.
Dissonance, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. and I haven't encountered that in a game in a while.
Yeah,
And it kind of hit me this time. I was like, "Ooh, this
this
is
is weird.
odd," but I'm
Yeah,
still having a lot of fun. Let's see if I can just let's just shove that down, ignore
yeah.
that,
We'll just ignore that.
ignore that
Nothing
impulse to
happened.
ruin everything. All right, let's go.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. That's always been Fallout's challenge: is how much do you want to make retro seem cool,
Yeah,
but also have laser guns?
yeah.
Like how do you balance those two scales?
Yo, retro laser guns.
Boom, done.
Boom.
Just put some Art Deco on it. You're set.
Hey, no. Art Deco is BioShock's thing,
That's
man.
true. I should respect Bioshock. Stay away from my Art Deco. But I mean, like, Fallout 4 is pretty good. I get why people were so hot on it during reviews, even though it's, especially on consoles, it's kind of a mess. It's
Yeah.
not, it's often not game breaking. Bethesda's talking about putting out some patches here in the short term, which great. Hopefully, it'll smooth it out.
Yeah.
There are always growing pains with open world games, but I think the other Jay Z said it last week, where it's like when Fallout is really good, it's Fallout,
Yeah.
but when Fallout is really bad, it's Fallout.
Yeah.
Like it kind of you kind of have to take the BS a little bit to get the good stuff, and I feel like I might be waning on some of that excitement unless they do something crazy for Fallout 5. Hopefully it's a long time before we get Fallout 5, just like it was between 3 and 4, but
Not even Fallout 5. The next main, like, I'm expecting big things out of the next mainline Elder Scrolls game. Like, Elder Scrolls
yeah.
6, yo, new engine or engine overhaul,
Yeah.
uh,
Something's got to happen.
and something needs to be done about that combat.
Yep.
That combat in
Yeah,
Skyrim was serviceable. It was by no means what I would call great.
and it's with the challenge I feel like they have to address here with the Elder Scrolls is, do you want to focus on combat or do you want to focus on story? Because
Hmm.
they can't seem to put enough time in to get both of them right. So which one do you want to do? Is it
Hmm.
Elder? Because Skyrim didn't do either one super great.
Yeah,
They were both fine, and there were good stories in Skyrim,
there
like there
were.
are in Fallout 4, but
Yeah,
not the majority of them.
still better main storyline quest than Oblivion had.
Well, yeah.
Because the Oblivion one was just the most forgettable thing until that last mission.
Yeah.
Because that last mission was crazy.
Oblivion had a lot of problems.
It did. It was cool, but it was kind of like
It aged itself very quickly.
it did. Yeah, if you go back and play that, especially on the 360 now, oh,
Oh, no.
it's
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
And it's weird because that was my first. Honestly, that was my first exposure to Bethesda. Uh,
Okay.
and that was Oblivion. Everyone was talking about that game, and like I picked it up. I was like, okay, I'm gonna play this. I was like, this is really cool. And I did that Dark Brotherhood quest, and I was like, yo, this is the best.
Yeah. This game is great. And
Yeah.
that's what Bethesda does really well, is like, now you remember the Dark Brotherhood quest. From
Mhm.
Fallout 4, I'll remember the Silver Shroud quest. And I'll
Yeah.
remember, some other little quests here and there. But, I fought a crazy huge boss in one of these missions.
Oh yeah.
And I'll remember that. But, the main storyline, so
Mm.
far there's been one beat that I remember because it's really different. But
Mhm.
beyond that, it's okay. You
Yeah.
know?
Still loving it though.
Yeah, turning around on it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's officially made its way into my top 10 this year, so I
Nice.
can say that
Me
much.
too, probably.
Yeah.
It's one of those games that comes out so late that, we'll probably put it in our top 10 even if we haven't finished it because, we know it's of a quality and we can
Yep.
say, like, look, we're not going to finish that this year, but,
Well, maybe
of
not
what
even
we've
next year.
played.
Who knows?
Yeah, of what we've played, it is a quality experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I played this week.
All right, I played some more Binding of Isaac Afterbirth.
Nice.
There's been a lot of stuff going on with that game, especially that ARG that just finished,
Yep.
which was super cool. If anybody hasn't seen that, go check that out online. It's complicated. So there have been the Binding of Isaac subreddit has a really good overview of it.
Yeah.
Still really enjoying that game. I really want it to be to come out on PS4
Mm.
because that's where my save is.
Yeah,
I'm
that's where all your
I'm
stuff is.
yeah, I'm spending a lot of time on the PC version because I'm trying to stream it every day for an hour or so.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of is like, okay, now I need to go beat the chapel 4 more times so I can get the negative so that I can start going to the chest, and then I need to do the
Mm.
chest a bunch of times to go do. It's fun, and almost every run I'm unlocking more stuff, but
Okay.
it's kind of like, well, I've already unlocked this stuff. It's just the new stuff isn't available on my platform of choice quite yet.
Yeah.
And on the PS4, I've done all of the challenges. There is no chance I'm going to do that on PC again, as some of those challenges are an undying nightmare, and they, oh god, they're so bad. But it sounds like Nicholas is working on the PS4 version and probably Xbox One version, sort of as we speak.
Nice.
And then start trying to figure out what they're going to do with the 3DS and the Vita version, because it
Yay.
sounds like they're not going to happen.
Yeah. Who can blame him?
Yeah, the Vita version of Binding of Isaac had enough problems for Rebirth that
Hmm.
cramming way more stuff in there would be difficult.
Yeah.
So, I did play a lot more Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Nice.
Man, this game is good.
Yeah.
So, I played probably 3 or 4 more hours of it now. I probably have about 5 hours in. I've done 2 optional tombs. And both of those have been fantastic. So,
Nice.
sort of the difference between them now is the game very clearly says, kind of like how it did in the first one, hey, these are optional tombs. You don't want to do them? That's fine. You don't have to do anything.
Nice.
But if you do go and do these tombs, the first one you run into very early on, and it's very obvious how to get into it and kind of do it. It's very clearly the tutorial one.
Yeah.
And when you finish it, in the first game you finished it and you get a bunch of experience and like weapon parts and whatever. It wasn't really that worthwhile.
Yeah.
But in this game you get all of that stuff, but you also open up this thing and it gives you a new skill just on your skill tree.
Okay.
Like the very first one I picked up was a bow skill, and it was whenever you learn it, and I haven't spent the point to learn it yet, immediately after firing one bow, you can hit R2 again, and it'll fire another arrow.
Ooh.
So like rapid fire, you can just shoot 2 arrows real quick.
Oh, cool.
So like that's a cool thing that it is a good reward for finishing one of these optional tombs that is actually a really good puzzle this time. I finished the second tomb that had, it was basically a rising water puzzle where it's like, okay, I've got this water, how do I make it rise all the way up to this area so that I can go do this thing?
Yeah.
And it was good, and it was a good puzzle. It wasn't impossible. It seems to be ramping up the difficulty really well, but you get another reward like that at the end where it's the skills you seem to learn may be a little bit overpowered,
Yeah.
but it seems like that's kind of the point when you're going through this option dungeon and you get something really good at the end for solving a puzzle.
Yeah.
So that seems to be the right way to do it. That seems really great. Rise of the Tomb Raider has learned so many lessons from the last one. They introduce the villain really early on and give him really good
Dinosaurs.
I wish. It gives him really good motivation really early on, and
Good.
you clash with that character almost immediately, like in the intro. So
Cool.
both characters know each other, and you're both. I'm only a couple hours in, and this game is like 30 hours, so I don't know where it's gonna go, but it seems like you're both chasing the same thing in like the Tomb Raider way. So Lara is a more interesting character this time. They took everything that happened in the first game, especially the ending of the first game, and they immediately built on it at the beginning of the second one.
Nice.
The shooting is just as good as it was before. The open areas are bigger this time, and there's more stuff to do in them. They have side quests now, Like,
Ooh.
I went into your first real open area, and there's this guy that's like, hey man, there's these 5 radio towers. I need you to go destroy them. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go do those, and I go back, and he gives me a lockpick, which lets me
Ooh.
open a bunch of areas in that specific region. So
Oh,
like I got all
cool.
this good loot and got all this good secret area stuff.
Nice.
And he's like, all right, come back to me later. I'll have more stuff for you. So like that's kind of neat. Making it a little bit more open world plus Metroidvania like it was before, but
Yeah.
giving you more stuff to do in the environment other than just the challenge modes, because those come back in this game. But like the first area, it's like go into 5 caves. Yay, challenge complete. It's not
Yeah.
not the most exciting stuff, but at least there's something a little bit more.
Nice.
So far, really happy with, and man, does it look good! Like super smooth frame rate, looks amazing. Like that's real excited for it to come out on PC in spring and PS4 this time 2016, so more people can play it. 'Cause,
Yeah.
man, it seems really good. I wish more people had a chance to play it. But
I think I'm just gonna go get the 360 version one of these days.
yeah, it seems like it's a good experience. So,
Nice.
and the last game I played, I started TVGP Game Club Game of the Month Syndicate.
Yeah.
Obviously, we won't talk about it a lot here. And I haven't played. I've played like an hour.
Yeah.
But man, that is a game that seems to be made purely to be divisive.
Yes. Very much
every,
so.
Every decision in that game that they made while creating it, they jumped into it with both feet. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing by degrees in that game. It is just, hey, we made this choice and you
Deal
got to
with
do
it.
that thing a lot.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
you do.
very curious to see where it goes. Knob said there weren't any real old Syndicate references in this game.
Yeah.
There have been a ton of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you kind of know where to look, this game is pretty lousy with old Syndicate references in the way that would tickle somebody like me that really loved the original games. Was like, that
Yeah.
thing's back, cool. All right, see you later.
Mhm.
So interesting. I'm very curious. I might be the only person on the show that thinks of this game favorably in any way.
Oh no, I enjoy the game. I'm replaying it. I'm definitely finding some problems with it, but I don't know if they're necessarily problems or just like changed expectations over the last 3 years.
3 years has been a long time for this game.
Yes,
Yeah.
you've had a platform jump, you've had a generation jump. It's interesting, but
Yeah.
I think the one thing you have to call out is definitely good is the voice acting cast.
A lot
Uh,
of famous people in there.
You have Brian Cox, who is just one of the most famous character actors ever.
Yeah.
If I understand our community and our audience well enough, you'll know him as Chief O'Hagan from Super Troopers.
Yes.
And you also have Michael Wincott, which is Top Dollar in The Crow. So
right.
he's the main bad guy with the crazy long hair and the creepy relationship with the Asian girl.
I don't know if I've run into him yet.
Really?
Yeah.
He
I only
is.
finished like the first proper mission.
Have you run into Brian Cox yet?
Yeah, you run into him.
Then you run into him. You run into Michael Wincott as well.
Okay.
Yeah. That
Interesting.
gravelly voice dude.
Oh yeah, that guy that I hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dude who very clearly in the intro is just basically saying, "Hey, I'm the bad guy.
Hey,
Don't trust me."
hey, guess what Michael Wincott's real good at?
Yeah. I'm gonna be a turncoat. Meh.
Oh
That should
man,
be in movies. I'm available for your character acting and voice acting.
for sure.
I'm not evil. Meow meow meow. Yeah.
Oh, good stuff.
Good times. But that's all I've been playing, so let's take a break.
Sweet.
All right, I shared. Oh, you're already in show notes.
Break. Yep. I got you, girl.
I got you, boo.
Oh, he was in Alien Resurrection. Good for him. Oh, and that's
Oh,
one
I
of his
also
top
meant to look up,
movies on IMDb. Oh,
I think the scientist lady is the boss lady from Bones.
probably. That seems like someone they would get for this. Oh, and he played Ed Gein in a movie. That's fun.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Oh. Oh,
Syndicate.
he was also Death in Darksiders 2.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
where I know him from.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Setting, plot, critical synopsis, maybe. Oh no, that's Rosario Dawson.
Huh.
Interesting. I thought she sounded familiar.
Yeah. He was the Prophet of Truth in Halo 2. He's got some like big video game names here.
Yeah.
Like good for him.
Yeah, I'm looking up his stuff here.
Yeah. I don't know. I like him. I have a huge bias because I love The Crow, but
Yeah. Uh, yeah, Brian Cox. Yeah, it seems to be about the three of them that are. Oh yeah. For anybody watching the live stream or watching the chat, go buy if you have an Xbox One. Tales from the Borderlands. The whole season is $10 on Xbox One. It is if you have gold, it is $10.
That's
Go
crazy.
get it. It is well worth $10.
Nice.
All right, let me know whenever you're ready, and we will kind of just knock out the rest of this.
I think I'm good.
Okay, starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's talk about video game releases for the week of November 23rd, 2015. Beyond Two Souls coming out for the PS4, download only in the US.
Because we all asked for it, apparently.
I think
I have to
this
play
is
it.
maybe a touch too expensive. I
How
will
much?
probably play it when it's on sale because I never played it on the PS3.
Same
And
here.
I think their games are crazy, but kind of likable, but kind of the worst, but great. So
Yeah.
and it just seems so nuts that
Yeah.
I kind of want to play it. And then coming out for the Vita, Telsagrad, which is
What's that one?
Teslagrad. Sorry, it's a platformer puzzle game where you're kind of it's an indie game where you're controlling like a magnet gun. You're kind
Ooh.
of dragging stuff all over the environment to puzzle your way through it. It was supposed to be pretty good. Seemed
I
to
can
be
work
hit
with
on
that.
Steam for a while, so
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
good Vita game probably.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Yeah. Speaking of pretty good Vita games,
Glad you picked up on that.
Vita Viking. We
Yeah.
have two games for you. They're also
Oh,
coming out on
boy.
PS4.
Nice.
First off, coming in spring 2016 to the PS Vita and the PlayStation 4, Darkest Dungeon.
I've heard nothing but good things. Well, okay. Good things as in it's a good game, but nothing but bad things because man, is it a bummer.
Yeah, and also pretty challenging, it seems.
Yeah.
That seems like a really great game, and everybody seems to really like it.
Yeah.
I just haven't picked it up on PC yet, and I'm really curious to see how it'll make the jump over to consoles. Hopefully they figure out some really good control scheme for that.
Yeah.
But nice to see more of that stuff coming out. Really, Sony's getting behind a lot of really great indie games and
Yes.
snatching those up pretty quick. So, and speaking of, they also have the Stalker-inspired read-only memories coming out for PS Vita and PS4 at some point.
Yeah.
This is a game I'm really interested in. It's kind of this cyberpunk, future noir, point-and-click adventure game
Yeah.
that has really good old-school pixel art that looks like it could have been on the Sega CD.
Yeah.
And just I like cyberpunk a lot, and
Who doesn't?
this game seems to like cyberpunk a lot. So
Which is good. I've heard it takes some interesting turns with Cyberpunk because as it exists, Cyberpunk, like, there's this sort of gap of Cyberpunk where it's like, okay, you have the pre-internet stuff and then you have the post-internet stuff, but
Right.
they're both kind of like way too similar. No one's gotten really weird with it. No one's like made that jump forward with it
right,
in the post-internet era, at least. So who knows?
interesting.
Yeah.
Good to see a lot of different stuff coming out on console, like graphic novels, or not graphic novels, visual novels, and point-and-click adventure games, and slower stuff. And
Hey, they did put out some graphic novels on the PSP. Remember
that is true.
those Metal Gear and Silent Hill ones?
that Metal Gear one is so good.
The Metal Gear one is crazy.
Did you
good.
ever finish that, by the way?
No.
So, Spoiler for a game that's like 10 years old at this
It's not
point.
even, it's don't call it a game. That is literally
Yeah, it's
not a game.
well, it goes somewhere really interesting because for anybody that didn't play it, it was really interesting because it took the graphic novel that Ashley Wood made and put some voices on it, put some sound effects on it. You know, the basic kind of motion comic stuff that they were doing at the time. But you could also dive, like zoom into the picture, and there would be stuff behind the page, basically.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and you would go through and you'd scan, and basically you'd have to play through the game, you read through the comic a number of times because you would uncover some stuff, and there'd be like this VR looking thing where you'd hook up different nodes to each other where it's like, okay,
Oh,
so I'd get a node for Shaman and I'd get a node for Vulcan Raven. Those two connect. And then it would, I think those were literally two of them.
I'm sure they were.
Giant and Shaman. And then based on that, you would be able to go back through the game and there'd be something new in the game. Like maybe you could then scan Decoy Octopus or something, you know, one of the other bosses, and it would get deeper and deeper. And you'd start building out this whole grid work and this whole framework of all this stuff. And then once you get to 100%, this little node shows up at the top. And when you click on that, it connects straight up, like, and way, way up. And the game tells you, thank you for recreating the events of Shadow Moses. We have uploaded this file to GW. And I was just like,
What? That's fantastic.
And like that's the end of that game. And I was just like, my mind was just. But it's unfortunate because they hid that stuff so deep that like nobody got to it. And there's just like this little line at the end where it's like, oh, Kojima.
Well, I know what I'm doing with my afternoon. I've got to do some searching.
Yeah, that game is super cool, and it's a bummer we didn't get the second one here. I would have loved to have played through the MGS2 one, but there's no reason for them to translate that over here. But, man, good games. Anywho, next news story, the worst kept secret, and seems like Sony leaked this accidentally themselves. PS2 emulation is coming to the PS4, everyone.
Yep.
Because it already is here with the PS4 Battlefront bundle that had a bunch of old Star Wars games. When you start them up, it just starts the PS2 up. And like with the splash screen and memory card management and everything.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So, you know, Sony this week was sort of like, yeah, we're working on it. So
I'm glad they're figuring that stuff out, though. Like,
yeah.
It's especially the early PS3 models. The reason they were so expensive, the reason that system came out for $500 is because they're backwards compatible. Mm-hmm. You know why they were backwards compatible? We just soldered an Emotion Engine chip into this thing, and that thing was stupid crazy to manufacture.
Yeah, because the Emotion Engine is hard to emulate because it's crazy.
Yep.
Oh man, the only thing I hope, and there's probably a 1% chance this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's only for like weirdos like us that care about this.
Yep.
I really want to be able to take a PS2 disc, pop it in my PS4, and then have not necessarily the PS4 emulate that, but if I could just then play that game through PS Now
or something
without having to like buy it or subscribe to it, because I clearly have the disc.
Yeah.
I understand that. I'm sure there is some technical limitation or some technical concern around that, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of my pie in the sky dream, is I really want to be able to take like Zone of the Enders 2 for the PS2 and just pop it in my PS4 and just play it, even if it's on PS Now. I'm not expecting the PS4 just to suddenly start playing PS2 games, because I don't know why you would put a lot of engineering time into doing that, especially when the emulator is pretty good on PC. That emulator is pretty good. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with this.
Yeah.
Especially in the face of the Xbox One backwards compatibility, which works really well. And Microsoft has been, the Xbox 360 game they put out for Games with Gold this month, Dungeon Siege 3, just works on backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
And as soon as I quote unquote purchased it on the Xbox.com website, it just showed up on my Xbox One, and then I
Nice.
downloaded it.
Very cool.
Like, that's how that should work if you're going to do full on backwards compatibility. Speaking of PC, worst segue ever. Valve has announced that they're changing how Steam sales work for this Christmas. Basically, they're doing away with flash sales. So how it would work before is kind of this frustrating thing where you'd come into a day's worth of sales and all these games look super cheap. Yeah, yay, Steam.
Yep.
And then 12 hours later, a couple of days later, you'd see that same game you bought for, let's say, half off. Now it's 75% off. And you're like,
Yep.
what? Really? So basically what they're doing this year is as soon as the game is listed for the Steam sale, that's the lowest it's going to go.
That's nice. That gets rid of my personal favorite flowchart. There was a flowchart that was out there that was like, I want to buy this game on Steam. Is it on sale? Okay. Is it a flash sale?
Right.
Okay. And it would just take you through all the steps. Now it's one step. Is it on sale? Buy it.
Yeah. Is it listed for the Christmas sale? Yes or no? Yeah. And I think, they still say, like, we're going to highlight top games. We're going to highlight games that are super cheap or games that are really well reviewed. But that's going to be the cheapest they are. So you don't have to worry about that flowchart. If you want this game, just go buy it.
Yeah. I think
go ahead.
I think this is, for them, this is something they have to do because of the refund policy they've recently enacted.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're going to get inundated with like, oh man, it's cheaper now. I didn't touch it yet, so
right. I'm going to return it and then just go buy it again. And it's doubling up the work.
I don't think they have the manpower to go through those, those requests.
Yeah,
and I don't think they want to have to worry about them. I think this is a direct response to that.
Yeah, that's a good point. In our last news story here, button remapping now available on standard Xbox wireless controllers. Looks like it's definitely in there for Xbox One on the new Xbox One experience, but also maybe in Windows 10, but I haven't really used it in Windows 10 yet.
Yeah.
So I actually stumbled across this on my Xbox One the other day when I was just kind of poking through the new settings. And it has a lot of really cool basic stuff you can do kind of right out of the box where it's like, I want to flip the sticks. I want to flip the triggers. I want to flip the bumpers, all that sort of stuff. And then you can go in and just like the PS4, just remap the whole thing.
Nice.
So you have updated to the new version of the OS on the Xbox One. Now you can do that. And maybe on Windows 10, but I don't know.
Who knows?
Windows 10 is okay, but I'm sort of waiting for Adobe to say it's cool with the program I'm using to record this podcast right now. Because I don't want to go to Windows 10 and then be like, oh, yeah, that doesn't work at all.
Oh, that'd be a bummer. You don't want to downgrade either.
No.
Yeah.
That'd be a super bad time.
Yep.
But what isn't a super bad time is tweets. First up from Adderblack39, it would seem that horror games are not your thing. Do you think you're missing out? Alien Isolation, Evil Within, and Outlast were all superb. Yeah. Honestly, I kind of wish I wasn't a giant chicken. And I watched Giant Bomb play Until Dawn. I would have loved to have played that game myself.
I do want to play that game. It's not that I'm not a huge horror fan. It's just that I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. A lot of the stuff they do in horror games is just kind of like, why would you choose that?
Right. Either it's like the grossest thing where it's like,
I'm talking mechanically speaking. Like every horror game I play, like, okay, tank controls originated with Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that, where they make mechanical choices based around like, oh, it's going to make you more afraid. And it's like, no, it's just going to make me frustrated.
Yeah, I'm not going to want to play it. Yeah, I think when you look at a lot of those games, I think I'm so interested in every game, at the very least academically, that I get really bummed out that I'm such a wuss when it comes to this stuff because I'd love to go through and play these games. They get to me. Like I get way into it and then I get way too scared. Man enough to admit it.
Fair enough.
I get way into it and it just There's nothing good happening there.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, let's move on to emails.
Emails.
Bill Serverd writes in, "Hey guys, this week's question
Hey.
is geared towards Sir Nobius Maximus. He's not here, but we'll speak on his behalf.
Yeah.
So I've been playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and don't hate me, I like it. Gasp. Maybe it's because I've always loved getting lost in the AC universe or getting into history and story. I just can't help but love these games. There's certainly nothing wrong with that. I love these games too.
I did once upon a time.
Even the ones that aren't really great, I still have a fondness for.
Yes.
And I think Knobs is just burnt out on them. He needs to take an Assassin's Creed breather.
Yeah.
Two Assassin's Creed games back to back is not. That's not doctor's orders.
No.
Don't do that. Your doctor says wait 365 days between AC games. I was thinking about how this franchise could extend to the next level. What are your thoughts on the Nemesis system for AC Syndicate? I think it would work perfect for the whole gang thing they got going on. Also, what other features do you think Ubisoft could borrow from other open world titles to improve this franchise?
Yo, the Nemesis system would be super perfect for this.
Yeah, I think especially, I think at a very at the very highest level, it could be cool to just do Assassins versus Templars, like controlling the city. They
Yeah.
kind of already do that by like taking over districts.
Yeah.
But this would have it go a little bit further. But if you could tie the Nemesis system into sneaky assassinating your enemies and then changing the balance of power doing that, I feel like that would be something really, really beneficial because it could kind of bring Assassin's Creed down a level to kind of where it was in like AC 1 and 2 and Brotherhood, where it was kind of the sneaking and the investigation was really the prime focus.
Yeah.
I feel like it could kind of bring it back to that in an interesting way.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see them. God, there's so many things they could do. I think the biggest thing is a change of setting.
Yeah.
Getting it out of history would be nice. I would like to see them take a more modern approach to it. Take it out of
1980s. Boom.
oh God, Assassins of the 19. What are they like crashing the stock market or
That'd
something?
be amazing.
I want to see them take it out of combat. Honestly, I don't
Yeah.
want to see Assassins versus Templars on the combat stage. I want to see it on like the corporate stage or like the computer stage. Like what does in 2015 hackers Assassins versus Templars look like?
Yeah, and they
Like
touched on some of that in Black Flag.
yeah.
But it,
Like is Anonymous like a front for the Assassins or are they like a false
that'd be-
flag operation
yeah,
for
like go
the
super
Templars?
topical with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just do
I think
something like that. I want something super different out of them.
Well, and I think part of the problem, I think when you look at what Desmond was doing in Assassin's Creed games, you felt like a pretty big cog in that machine.
Yes.
When you go to Black Flag, you're an intern at future Google. Like you're the smallest cog in this giant machine, and that doesn't feel as satisfying as you kind of bombing around Italy with Kristen Bell and like figuring out what the Templars are going to do with your on the move animus. Like that
Yeah.
that it seemed almost like a heist movie is you were
Yeah.
kind of diving back into history to figure out where this stuff is hidden in the modern day, and there was this push-pull between, okay, well, we found out this next thing. We got a new roadblock. Let's go back into the Animus. Like
Yeah.
it felt pretty satisfying, and they haven't really gotten back to that since they lost Desmond.
Well, yeah, and that was the thing. When they lost Desmond, they lost this whole through line, and that whole through line, that build up felt like we were building up to something is going to happen with the Assassins and the Templars in modern day. We're
Right.
going to get a game, and it's going to be about that.
Yeah,
and
'cause they
that's
were-
why that's why I stuck with the Assassin's Creed series,
Yeah.
and that's why I was so angry at the end of 3.
Well, and they were leading up to, Desmond is the only person that can save the apocalypse that's coming in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And, that all of these people are architecting to basically wipe out humanity.
Yeah.
You have a couple of years to do it. Let's go prevent it. And then,
Yep.
whoops, we killed Desmond. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's
I don't
frustrating.
know.
They need to streamline those games. They need to figure something out, and they need to get back to the spirit of what made Assassin's Creed great.
Hmm.
Kind of whatever that was.
Yeah.
You know,
The Nemesis system would be an interesting step. I would like to see how they handled that. I almost want to see them strip out some of the superfluous stuff, like
yeah,
drop all the RPG elements like the armor and like
the
just
leveling and crafting and yeah.
strip it down to its bare bones and build it back up.
And that's what I think they really need most because you could add the Nemesis system in there and there would probably be 4 more layers of stuff around that. And I agree. I don't think Assassin's Creed needs more stuff. I think it needs, like you said, pull out the crafting, pull
Yeah.
out 5 types of chests, pull out,
Mhm.
all of this, AC initiates armor sets, and just
Mhm.
get back to let's do an investigation. Let's follow a dude while he's talking, but let's make
Maybe
that less
not.
BSy. And then let's go secretly kill a dude and then try to get in and out as quietly as possible.
Yeah.
Make it a ninja game again. We
Yeah.
don't have any of those.
No. It's
So,
just weird because there were like 10 Tenshus coming out a year at one point.
yeah, wasn't that weird?
Yeah.
It was a weird time in the PS1. Next email here from Kevin from Cincinnati. With the rise of YouTube and Twitch and the explosion of the internet, do we really need gaming journalists? He has bold and underlined specifically for reviews. For me, a review is just that person's opinion of the game. We all have different tastes. Reviews today seem to be more subjective than objective. There are some that are objective, but mostly just that person's opinion, really. Which I don't think we need to get down the rabbit hole of subjective versus objective game reviews.
Yeah.
We won't tread that water.
No.
Honestly, all I need to know is if the game works, if there's any game-breaking bugs or anything that mechanically breaks the game. I can go on YouTube or Twitch, watch a video of someone playing the game, and see if I like it myself. I've watched a lot of channels like Total Biscuit's WTF videos and Metal Canyon's Let's Plays, and I've purchased some games I really enjoyed that I would have missed because of bad reviews, simply because I watched them play games with honest eyes. What do you guys think? Just my opinion, which is subjective. Keep up the good work. I think we talk about Giant Bomb a lot. I'm actually wearing a Giant Bomb t-shirt right now.
Nice.
Wearing my Hot Dog Patrick shirt.
Nice.
I think that's why Giant Bomb has been so popular, because they keep rolling with what kind of the gaming without doing what PewDiePie does, because what he does is kind of a separate beast in and of itself.
It's more performance.
Yeah, and it's very much, so many people love him, and I respect what he does, but it's certainly not for me. So I don't want to crap dog it, because clearly he's doing something that works.
Mm-hmm.
But he is serving his market very well, and there are a lot of YouTubers that are serving that market really well, which is great. Is it gets more people to experience games even if they're not going to play them, which is fine.
Yeah.
I just talked about watching Giant Bomb play Until Dawn.
Yeah.
I'm not innocent from any of this.
No.
I feel like that's why Giant Bomb has done so well, and why so many people have copied some of the stuff they've been doing, like Quick Looks, is because a written review in 2015 is not going to tell you everything about the game.
No.
Watching 2 or 3 people that you trust, whoever that is, that doesn't even matter, play the game that you're interested in, or them say you need to see this game because it's crazy or it does something interesting, that I think is where, that to me is a review. In 2015, that's, you still get the reviews, you still get the text reviews. Some sites are still doing video reviews, which are still good, and they still have a place. But for most people, you want to watch somebody play Fallout 4 and say, okay, how broken is this? Like, is the frame rate bad? Are the controls bad? What are you doing in this game? You can watch somebody play it for an hour and say, okay, I'd like to play more of that. Dimeback 315 says, what about watching Boston play? That's me. You can watch me play stuff. That's serving a market where people do still like reading long form stuff. They still like reading
Yes.
text reviews. I do too. But you have to supplement that stuff with your video coverage now because that's an expectation.
Yeah.
So,
I personally, so as far as reviews used to be a really useful tool.
yeah.
They were something to give you an idea. This is back when print was still king. This,
Breaking open a magazine and saying like, "Wow, they reviewed 30 games this month. Sick."
yeah, so like you're looking at the Game Informer reviews and you're looking at the scores and you're reading the review and you're trying to figure out, okay, is this game for me? Is this not for me? It was always a challenge. I always really liked EGM
Yeah.
because they did the three-person review team,
And
and
they
each
got the
game,
cult of personality stuff really early on, where it's like
yes.
this person has a bio at the beginning. Here are the games they love. If they
Mhm.
love an RPG, but they're reviewing Halo and they hate it. Yeah, no kidding. Weird.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
you get that idea of the cult of personality stuff that's really popular now.
Yeah, but you get like a conglomerated score from like you have three people review one game. Sometimes you have one dude that would hate it, and if you look at that dude's profile and you're like, maybe he's more in line with my taste. Maybe I won't
Yeah.
like
He
this.
called out a bunch of stuff that would drive you nuts.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that sort of thing. And I always really appreciated that about EGM. But in this day and age, you have a bunch of factors that make that traditional print style review really irrelevant.
Hmm.
You're talking games that get updated post release.
Yep.
Games that get updated day of release. So the copy that was reviewed isn't necessarily the copy that you're playing.
And Polygon gets a lot of guff for it, and Polygon is no website is perfect. So I'm not
Yeah.
going to pick on any individual website, but Polygon has really tried to do something different with their provisional reviews, saying, "Look, we got this thing pre-release and we reviewed it. For us, it was a 7.5. We'll review it in another couple weeks after some patches have come out. We'll let you know
Yeah.
how the servers were stable." And eventually, sometimes they go back and they're like, "Look, it's been really great. They patched it to a great level. Now it's an 8.5 because we think
Yeah.
they kind of tied everything together, or they put out a 7.5 and the servers just didn't work for 2 months. And they said, look, now it's a 5. We'll review it
Yeah.
again when it works, but don't go buy this thing." I
Yeah.
think that's an interesting way of trying to tackle that.
Yeah, and that's definitely one way of doing it. And another way of doing it is, just putting out videos.
Hmm.
The Let's Plays and the YouTubers are really filling that gap right now. And, as good as Giant Bomb is, they're not necessarily doing, retakes on some of that stuff. They're just doing the quick look initially, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you get those initial impressions. And, a game might change. A game could, like you said, go from like a 5 to an 8
Yeah.
because of patches or because of certain changes. And I think there's room there for something to sort of build up around that idea. And I think YouTube's doing a good job of that. The individual YouTubers are doing a good job of that. Giant Bomb does an okay job of that. But as far as journalism in games, I think we're talking two different things. There's a difference between reviews and journalism.
Yeah.
Reviews are not journalism. Reviews are video game writing for sure.
Yeah.
I would not consider them,
It's a
quote unquote
product review.
journalism.
You
Exactly.
know? Yeah.
As far as journalism in games, I think there is still a need for it because the games industry is so very insular and private.
Well, look at what
Uh,
happened to Kotaku this week.
yeah, the whole,
Brian Ashcraft coming out and being like, look, we've been blacklisted by a bunch of companies because we leaked their games early.
yeah,
That's what
and
we do.
there's some stuff in there that I'm on one side of it in some cases and on the other side of it in other cases. I don't want to get into all that.
Yeah, it's a
I'm-
meaty issue. But,
It's a,
if you look at Kotaku on the other end of the spectrum, there's Jason Shearer, who's doing some of the best video game writing there is right now.
Absolutely.
He
Him and-
covered Trails in the Sky second chapter, the disaster that was of a localization process that someone almost ended their life over, and
Yeah.
he covered the troubled development of Destiny. Just those two meaty articles in the last couple of months. He's doing great stuff, and there are plenty of other people that are doing great stuff out there, more than
And-
like press releases.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I would be okay with every company having their own mouthpiece and talking about their games and doing press releases.
Hmm.
We don't need video game journalism for that. We need video game journalism to do like postmortems like Gama Sutra does
Man,
with
Gama Sutra's
developers.
postmortems are so good.
They're so good. If you're
Yeah,
interested in game development at all, you should be reading Gama Sutra
yeah,
because they get so deep into it. And then you have, if you've listened to Giant Bomb, probably know who Dave Lang is. He's, the CEO of Iron Galaxy Entertainment. He's been a developer for years and years and years. He used to work for Midway, and he's got some crazy stories.
yeah,
But he also has ins with some legendary developers like Sal DeVita. Look up that episode of Team GFB Radio, his podcast, where he interviews Sal DeVita. It's such a good interview, and it gives you such a cool insight into like how Midway did things in the late
yeah,
90s, early 2000s. And even as back as far as like their arcade days, they talk about, how they built their arcade interfaces
yeah,
to attract people. And like we have like they have these super strict guidelines for exactly how you build an interface just for the menu of an
yeah,
arcade game. That, I mean, that's sort of stuff like you can't get that out of the company itself. You have to get that out of like journalists and like people who are interested. So I think there's absolutely a need for it.
yeah,
And I think there's going to be at some point there's going to be a bigger rift than there is right now between the actual games industry and the games journalism or games media industry.
yeah,
Because right now they're very close and they have been since the inception of games, but it's a very young industry on both ends.
yeah,
So eventually there's going to be, who knows what it'll be, but there will be a big divide there for a while, and it will come back together, and there will be a different working relationship.
yeah.
It happens in every industry. It happens in the financial industry all the time. Happens in the education industry. You have, actual educators versus, researchers, and there's a lot of stuff that happens. Games is not the only industry with this sort of weirdness happening at
Yeah,
all.
it's been a tough year for video game coverage in general, and I think that problem is going to only continue to get worse in 2016 until something happens.
Yeah,
Whatever
it's either
that
going
is.
to be really good or it's going to be real bad.
Yeah. Next email here is from Bill Sefford. He said, "Hey guys, first I want to send congratulations to Boston and his wife for their anniversary. Here's to many more happy years together." Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So my question for the week, I think I already know the answer, but whatever happened to E1M1 Studios? I checked in on the dev blog and haven't seen any updates. Thanks for the great show, guys. I'll see you online. I ran out of time. I have a lot of ideas, and I don't have time. It's kind of the worst combo.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I ran out of time.
that'll
But
happen.
I like buying domains, so that thing is still around. Maybe someday. Maybe in 30 years when I'm retired,
Yeah,
I'll go
sit
back
down.
to that game and finish it.
There you go.
But just not in the cards right now. I'm
For
working
sure.
on some other stuff at the moment. So,
Nice.
P.S. Is it weird that when people say emails, I whisper to myself emails like
No.
Bob's and Hannah? Nope, we got you.
Yeah, that's how you know you're a fan.
Yeah, you're one of us now. All right, that's all of our emails and tweets this week. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening/watching. You can visit us at tvgp.tv, email us tvgpfans@gmail.com, tweet us at tvgp, join the forums, mark yourself on the map.
Yep.
We have a whole bunch of games we're playing every week.
Bunch of games.
Check out the Monday game night. Knobs sort of spearheads that. You got some, I'm assuming, Star Wars Battlefront now?
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe?
Maybe pick up Battlefield 4 just in case.
Yeah, Battlefield 4 is always cheap. They're probably always down for that. Wednesday, we have PlayStation game night. And then Friday, find somebody, play something with you. I think that's it for that section. I think I covered what Knobs does.
I think you got everything. So the current TVGP Game Club game is Syndicate. I'm going to be throwing up a new voting thread here soon because that wrap-up cast is coming on the 3rd of December. Yeah, it's coming up real quick. So
yeah, I forgot to mention I have my first hour on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
So go check that out. I'm gonna be live streaming the whole thing and then kind of archiving my playthrough because that game is crazy.
Yeah. So, we're always looking for new suggestions. Feel free to throw them up in the suggestions thread on the forum. And hopefully your game will get in the mix next time we do a vote.
Yeah, so we got a lot of suggestions last time. We kind of talked about what the not really criteria is, but kind of
But like the
what.
goal of Game Club.
Yeah, it's really like the thing I keep telling people is a game we missed. Syndicate is a perfect game because it kind of was an average reviewed game that came out alongside a lot of other stuff we had to play at the time.
Yeah.
So 3 years later, we sort of look at Syndicate and go, oh yeah, Syndicate. I never got around to playing that.
Yeah.
That's a Game Club game where you can sort of look and be like, oh, yeah, I never did play that. Now it's cheap. Now it's available. That's Game Club. So if you have a game like that, please suggest it. We always need suggestions because, we put up 3 games at a time.
Yeah.
And we only play it for a month. And, after that, we're going to toss up 3 more games. So,
Yeah.
We always need more games. And there's a ton of games out there everybody missed. So go toss those in the forums.
For sure.
And don't forget, you can watch us live, twitch.tv/E1M1 Network. That is every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. We'd love to see you. Come chat with us and come watch us live. Make fun of us. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. And you can watch our archives, youtube.com/thatvideogamepodcast. That's all E1M1 Network shows get archived there. Thank you again, everyone, for watching and listening. Thank you for 8 years plus 1 month of fantastic community interactions. I always say this, and I am never lying. You guys are the best community on the internet.
Yep.
And all of you, to a person, are fantastic. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
Later.
All right, I have 3 titles.
I got a fair few here. I didn't start writing them down until about halfway through the episode. So
Okay, I did the first half, so we're good.
All right.
Giant Boulder of Death.
All right. I like
just
that
like
one.
how that sounds.
Yeah.
It's like a Ren and Stimpy episode.
Yep.
Boston's Super Awesome Directory.
Nice.
And Laser Typewriter.
I got Laser Typewriter as well.
Yeah.
That's about where I started writing down. I was like, I should write that one down.
We didn't have a lot of great stuff in the first half, so.
God, Knobs is just a title machine.
Yeah.
So I got Fallout 3 Part 2, Laser Typewriter, Stay Away from My Art Deco, I'm Gonna Be a Turncoat, Weirdos Like Us, Full-On Backwards Compatibility, Intern at Future Google, and Bombing Around Italy with Kristen Bell. Because that sounds like a great TV show.
Yeah. I really like Stay Away from My Art Deco.
Yeah.
I think that one's... I'm going to circle that one.
Yep.
That's a perfect TVGP non sequitur.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, starting in 3, 2, 1. This is That Video Game Podcast, episode 422 for November 23rd, 2015. Stay away from my Art Deco.
Keep away, man.
Hands off, brother. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for watching the live stream. If you're watching the archive, thank you as well. I appreciate you. Wink.
On an individual level.
Yes, you personally an individual.
Yes.
I think you're great. So thanks for watching. We'll be back next week.
For some reason.
Yeah. Who let